Welcome to our latest workshop. This is, we have done, at this point, this is, what did I say, Rochelle? Our 46th workshop that we have held. You can find every single one of those on YouTube if you want to go and check those things. But for today, we're going to be talking about the 2025 Local Service Ads Mastery for roofers. Local service ads are, I believe, a way that you as roofers can easily add another $1 million to your bottom line, if not more, if you do them right. Okay. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Who am I? My name is Chris Hunter. I am the author of the Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer of roofingsites.com. I am a member, we as roofingsites.com are a member of the NRCA, RCAT, HARCA, National Roofing Contractors Association, Roofing Contractors Association of Texas, and Houston Area Roofing Contractors Association. Okay. I've been doing SEO since 1998. If you do the history on that and look back, and you'd see that Google wasn't even launched yet at that time. And that's very true. My first website that I ranked was actually on Yahoo. And that I know this whole thing super dates me, but I've been doing this gig for a really, really long time. Okay. Random fact about me, I rode from College Station, Texas to Washington, D.C. You actually see a picture here. It's in Baltimore because I actually rode another 70 miles from D.C. to Baltimore to ride to Johns Hopkins Hospital. Not because I was hurt, but the entire reason that I did this in 2012 was to raise money and awareness for pancreatic cancer. It was a solo ride. I did it because, and I tell people this was my midlife crisis. I was 39 at the time. Okay. So that was kind of my midlife crisis, I like to say. And I did it to raise money and awareness for pancreatic cancer, which is what my dad passed from. Okay. I learned a lot of things, saw a lot of America that most Americans never, ever, ever see in their entire lifetimes, including being chased by dogs in every country town that you can imagine. But we're not here for that. I am on a mission. I'm on a mission to double the size of 100 roofing companies before 2028. Okay. We've been working with roofers since 2018. And well, really before that, my first roofer that we worked with was in 2005 when he talked us as a web design company into systemizing a little portion of what we do today, which was search engine optimization. And basically he asked me to do for him what we'd done for ourselves. Okay. And that was beating our competition on Google. All right. What we talk about a lot here, and what I wrote my book on, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers, was the 4R roofing marketing system. This is a marketing system that is an evergreen system that will help you not only get more leads and sales, but it'll help you completely dominate your market. Okay. If you get something right in every single one of these 4 containers, pillars, I call them pillars. Okay. So the first pillar here, the first R, is called reputation. We have found that nothing else is going to work in marketing if your reputation is not solid. Okay. If you have a poor reputation, a non-existent reputation, your website is horrible or hasn't been updated in a decade, or it is slow to load, your social media hasn't been updated in 3-4 years, you have an issue with your reputation. Okay. And so getting those things right actually will help you on the upper pillars. I call this our foundational pillar, the reputation pillar. Okay. The next pillar is reach, getting in front of more people today than knew about you yesterday. Almost every single person that comes to me that I talk with, and I talk with around 4 to 5 roofers every single day. Okay. And we have interviewed literally thousands of roofers in the past 3 to 4 years. This is what most of them come to me about, right? I want leads. I want to get in, SEO. I want to need to be ranked on Google. That's all the stuff that's in this pillar. I call this, by the way, this entire system an evergreen system because as things stop working, we pull them out and we replace them with something else that does work. Okay. So great example are the yellow pages. I don't think those work today. I don't think, honestly, for the past 20 years that they ever worked. Okay. They are not in this system. Okay. So we want to make sure that we have things that are working. We pull them out, we put them in with something else that works. Reach for us, for roofers, this is what works today, is dominating Google on using search engine optimization, getting ranked on Google Maps, doing Google local service ads, what we're going to talk about today, right? Facebook ads work to an extent, and I'll talk about that in other workshops this year on what we do on that. It's not exactly what you expect with Facebook ads, okay? And of course, social media. So you cannot discount social media for reputation or even for the reach factor. Okay. So next pillar is resell. We are 8 times more likely to sell to people who have purchased from us before. Okay. But yet very few roofers that I've ever talked to actually do anything whatsoever in this pillar. Okay. They have never gone back and done cross-sell campaigns to, for gutters or windows or siding. Okay. Or solar. They've never done retargeting ads, meaning that anyone who comes to your website, your ads follow them around, right? That happens with Amazon. Why don't we as small businesses do that for our own business? Okay. They don't do lead nurturing. They don't do a monthly newsletter. Nobody does this stuff. Very few. I could count on probably one hand out of the thousands of people that I've interviewed, that I've talked with about their marketing, that actually does this pillar at all. Oops, wrong way. Next one, referral. Referrals are how we build our business from the beginning. These leads are gold, right? They can typically convert at, anywhere in between 60 to 80%. But yet very few roofers that I talk with actually have a solid program set up for the referrals. It's all in the owner's mind, and it's made up each time that a referral comes in, and it might or might not actually happen, right? But yet, if you incentivize your customer base, your homeowners that you've worked with before in the past, if you incentivize your staff, if you incentivize your friends and family, and by the way, other referral sources like insurance agents and just home inspectors and all of these other folks, if you can incentivize them with your referral program and let them even know that it exists, okay, you will have a very solid lead flow coming in to you that convert at a much higher rate. These are the 4 pillars that we want to make sure that we have as a marketing system. All right, let's move onwards, okay? Because that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Google, okay? And by the way, I'd like to focus on Google right now inside of the reach pillar because it has the absolute highest buyer intent, okay? I talked about Facebook ads earlier and Facebook and social. Those are great, but that's not where people go to find roofers. Okay. They go to Google. In fact, Google still, even when it was announced a week ago that they lost some search share, right? They lost search share in the entire market for the first time in 20 years, right? And that was announced just literally a couple of weeks ago. But guess what? They're still 89.75% of all search traffic. Okay. So when that made the news, I looked it up and I looked at the actual stats, right? And they're attributing it to AI. They're attributing it to, ChatGPT and so forth. ChatGPT didn't even show up as a percentage on that. So that's not even yet anything to be concerned about. Okay. Google's still the big dog. All right. So the other thing is Google and search intent is changing and has changed and it's been changing since 2019. Okay. Since 2019, more and more people are doing their searches on their mobile phones. The lockdown, right, for COVID lockdown in 2020, that accelerated everything quite a bit. Okay. People more and more will research you on that $1,000 machine sitting in their pocket. Okay. And I talk about this all the time. Make sure that you actually show up good on that $1,000 machine. Okay. That's the easiest way to put anything here. Okay. So can everyone agree that Google has the highest buyer intent out there? Okay. Yes, because that's where they're going to search for us. All right. Next, let's talk about kind of some areas in Google, right? A lot of people that come to me don't understand exactly where I'm talking about, okay? There are 4 main areas inside of every Google search engine result page, or a SERP, right? If you're talking to a geek like me, I'm just gonna say a SERP, okay? But on the search engine result page, there are 4 areas. There's local service ads, that's the top one. There's Google Ads itself, right? That's the next section down. Okay. And as we look at the next, this is supposed to be all one page. It's kind of hard to get that all into one screenshot here. Okay. The next section, we all know about this. This is the 3-pack. This is the Google Map pack. Another way to talk about this, but this is your Google business profile, right? That's being shown here. And we call it the 3-pack because it's the top 3 in Google's minds that show up for that. I did a whole workshop on that. Was that last month, I think. I did a whole workshop on that. If you want to go look at YouTube, or if you're listening to this on the podcast, go and watch that. It shows you the exact steps of what you need to do in order to rank on Google Business Profile. Okay. And then that last section is what we all know, Google Ads. This is when I first went into the industry. This was the only section there on Google. Right. And this was the only section that I worked on for a very, very long time until Google Ads came around, and then Google Maps came around, and now local service ads. Okay. So why should we focus on local service ads? Well, the biggest problem, right, that we have found is that, guess what? Google Ads are hard. It is a weird algorithm, and it's a huge combination of all of these things that you've got to figure out. Okay. We have specialists literally that specialize in just only Google Ads. It's a very complicated platform. All right. Google Ads are hard, right? There's a million different ways to set them up. You've got accounts, you've got campaigns, you've got ad groups, you've got ads, you've got keywords themselves, you've got these things called negative keywords, you've got where you're targeting your service area. There's literally a million ways to mess these ads up. Problem is that, and the cool thing for Google Ads, by the way, they do work if you put them into a professional's hands. Okay. Someone who knows what the heck they're doing with it. All right. But most small businesses, we're not professionals with Google Ads, right? We're professionals with other areas. Okay. So what Google did, because guess what? Google, yes, it's a search engine, but it's a way to make money for Google. So the biggest way to do that for them is through ads. Well, if ad pay-per-click campaigns, the amount of people that are working that platform has been going down and declining over the years, guess what? They had to come up with something new. That is local service ads. Okay. The other problem, ads can get expensive, very expensive. If you don't know what you're doing, they're easy to run up huge budgets. Okay. And not get any kind of an ROI. The more you change, by the way, on Google Ads, the worse it gets. Okay. So you have to make sure that you're actually like letting it marinate, right? Kind of a thing, and making changes incrementally and at a specific time, kind of a thing, right? Google's programming tells you these things so that they can make more money. Okay. By the way, the Google ad representative that calls you, that wants to help you, right, is not there to help you. They're there to make more money on that account. Okay. So sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're not. Okay. But at the same time, you have to, it's like, all right, I was in the military. Okay. I was in the Air Force. When I went into the Air Force, recruiters told me how great that it was. Okay. It was great. I had a great time. What they didn't tell me is about how much sometimes that things are going to be, I'll say it in a nice way, that they inhale vigorously, which is an easy way to say that it sucked. Right. So we want to make sure that we're taking it with any person from Google, that we're taking that with a grain of salt. Okay. Any kind of recommendations, budget increases here, change your targeting over here, blah, 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 all these things. There's a million different things, right? So always it's not in their best interest, by the way, for you to be completely optimized, for you to spend less money on their platform, right? It's just the opposite. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. So enter local service ads, right? I've got a Captain America here because I like Captain America, but local service ads, by the way, these are also called Google guaranteed ads. Okay. These have a little green checkbox if you go through the verification process, all those kinds of things. These were actually introduced in 2015, I believe, for plumbing, HVAC, and electrical, and they've kind of expanded out, since then. I think in 2020 is when they finally, allowed it for roofing contractors. Now, Google has been placing more and more emphasis on this platform because guess what? It makes more sense for small businesses. Instead of paying per click like in the other platforms, you're paying per lead that comes in. Okay. Almost like Home Advisor, Angie's, anything like that, right? Big difference though. When someone calls you, they call you. If they message you, they message you. It doesn't go out to 8 other roofing companies, just like Angie's does. Okay. So it is a very good platform and it has a very simple interface to it. Okay. And that can be a double-edged sword because of that. Okay. And we're going to go over a lot of that. All right. So pay per lead, I talked about that. It's, traditional ads are pay per click. Every time someone clicks on your ad, you get charged. Google doesn't care, honestly, if it was a good click or a bad click. If it was a fraudulent click from your competitors, that's literally sitting there clicking you out of your budget. Okay. They don't care. They really don't. They might give you a little bit of budget back, from that. But for the most part, you got a $10,000 budget. They're going to spend 11,000 of it. Okay. So, and they don't care whether it was a good click or a bad click. You can't also, they make it very, very hard to dispute anything inside of the pay-per-click platform. Let's try to say that 5 times. It is way different than Home Advisor and Angie's, like I talked about before. Okay. So it goes to you one-on-one, one-to-one, unless they go down to another ad and let's say that you didn't answer the phone, you didn't message them back quick enough, they're going to go to somebody else, just like they would on Google Maps or organic or even the phone book back in the day. Okay. What we are finding with local service ads that they have a better sales conversion. Okay. We're finding that typically the leads coming out of those have a 50 to 60% conversion rate. Okay. Now, if you just heard that and went, ooh, you should, because 50% conversion rate is huge for anything online. Okay. If you get pay-per-click ads, let's say that a 10% conversion rate off of the leads coming, the clicks, right? The person sitting there clicking on that ad and actually filling out a form or calling you is typically around 10%, right? So it's a huge difference. It's almost upwards of that referral rate, okay, for conversion rate for sales. So it should be something that you should pay attention to, all right? One of the other things that makes it this way is because it's got reviews sitting right there. Okay. It shows your reviews. So if you've got a low amount of reviews, that goes back to that reputation pillar that we talked about before. Okay. Focus on getting more reviews because guess what? Your competition is. And I've been seeing this year more than last year or any other year as I look through Google Business Profile accounts that there are more and more of the roofing companies out there are getting on board and understanding how important that reviews are. Okay. Reviews are very important, not just in local service ads, but in Google Business Profile as well. Right. So 2 out of the 4 areas are very dependent on reviews. Okay. And when I say 4 areas, I mean local service ads, pay-per-click, Maps Pack, and which is Google Business Profile and organic. Okay, so 2 out of those 4 are very, very, very dependent on reviews. You also get that little Google Guarantee badge, right? The little green badge that goes along with that, which gives the nice warm and fuzzies to people because guess what? Google is saying that they're going to back you, which is why you have to go through a verification process with them. Okay, they're going to do a background check. They're going to make sure that you're a reputable roofing company. Okay, before they allow you into the local service ad platform. A double-edged. So I talked earlier about how LSAs can be a double-edged sword. Okay, problem that I see over and over and over again with roofers, specifically because you get busy and you don't have the systems in place for your back office admin staff or your salespeople to go through and do this. You cannot set the local service ads as set it and forget it. Okay. You want to make sure that you're constantly tending to this platform, because guess what? Google actually will reward you for doing that. It's built into their algorithm. The more that you work there, and there's a mini CRM in the back end of the local service ad platform. The more that you work it, the better they're going to rank you. The better they rank you, the more leads that you get, right? And it's just nice and circular thing there. So what we want to do is we want to constantly be looking at and adjusting our budget, possibly our service area, our services, making sure that we're getting reviews, making sure that we're adding pictures to the platform. There's a lot of things that go into that, okay? We got to, at the very, very minimum, mark leads as booked or completed. Okay, next, how do we set this up? Okay, so first thing that you got to do is you got to go through a setup and verification. You've got to give the roofer, you've got to give the business license. You got to upload your proof of insurance, go through a background check for you and a few key people in your organization. You have to have a minimum of 5 reviews. So if you're a brand new company, right, and you want to do local service ads, get those 5 reviews. And those can be, honestly, your friends, family, whatever. Get those reviews in. Just don't do it from your house. All of you do it from your house, because that becomes from the same IP address. That's easy for Google to figure that one out. Okay, do it from different areas and so forth. But get those 5 reviews as a minimum, right? You're going to obviously want to be working that upwards. I have said for years that you should get upwards to around 100. But we've been coming across companies with 200, 400, 1,000 reviews. Okay, so make that. If you don't take anything out of what we're going to talk about here today on local service ads, please take away that you should be focused on reviews. Okay, it is very, very important. Next step, you set your budget. Obviously, add in your billing information. That's actually done through a separate platform, the Google Ads platform. This interface that you log into for local service ads is a very simplified interface, but it's a version of the Google Ads platform. Okay. Once you go through those steps, then you can start setting up other things like your profile. Okay. I blacked these things out because I didn't want to give away any information here for one of my clients. I was just literally going through in capturing screenshots, but these are all the things that you'll have to set up. Okay. Under your bio, you want to make sure that you actually put in all the things that you do. Okay. Are you locally owned and operated? You should always be putting that up there. If you're family owned and operated, make sure you check that little box. These are all check boxes, by the way. Okay. Are you GAF certified? Or, do you have a workmanship guarantee? Whatever. These are all differentiators. And if you see this one, this actually says veteran owned and operated. Okay. These are things that can help you sell better. As people scan through and they look at you and they research you, they're going to research your reviews. They're also going to look at some of these things. One of these things might stick out to them and might make them reach out to you. Things like that veteran owned, things like financing options, things like that you're local. Okay. The other things that kind of stick out, by the way, are your pictures. Okay. Make sure that your pictures are you and not stock photography. Google does not like stock photos. Okay. For these types of ads. Okay. Next is your budget and job types. Check the things on the job types that you are willing to take, that you're willing to pay for leads for. You're going to pay anywhere, and I've been seeing even down to $30 a lead lately, right? Upwards of $150 a lead, depending on the service, the competition in that area, the metro that you're advertising in. Okay. So over here on the left, we've got budget and bidding. We typically start out with automated bidding. Okay. We let Google figure that out. I highly recommend that you try that. Okay. And I've got some tips here later down the road, in the presentation here on what you can do if things are stuck. Okay. But we typically go with automated bidding. There's another one out there that you can do manual bidding for the leads and how much you're willing to pay. I think there's $1,000 limit. Okay. For that. I don't recommend that you do that, by the way. Okay. If you're paying $1,000, for that lead, you better be converting them. Okay, because that's kind of at the top end of what we're as roofers should be paying, to get someone in to do a roof replacement. Okay. But if you're doing repairs, you're going to lose money on that. Okay. Average weekly budget. So here's what our general rule of thumb is on this one. Okay. If you're willing to spend, let's say in this case, $2,500 a month on these ads, multiply that times 3 and divide that by 4. Okay. All right. And I say multiply it times 3 because what we have found in the past couple of years, really, really working this platform for our clients, is that Google's not going to spend all of your budget, and especially if you're in a very competitive area. Okay, so bump that budget up and keep incrementally bumping that up, but we recommend at least a 2 to 3x what you're willing to pay. Okay, monitor it obviously. Okay, on a weekly basis. If you actually do spend, let's say in this case, right, we said, all right, well, we're willing to pay $2,500 a month divided by 4 is $600, okay, a week, right? Am I doing my math on that right? Okay, so $600 a week, probably we should bump that up to $1,800, okay? Does that make sense? Give me one if that makes sense. There was a question David asked, does minority-owned benefit or hinder a business? That's a good question, and that's something that you could probably test in your market. Every market is a little bit different, right? And it's hard to split test something like that with this platform because there's so many different variables that go into it. I honestly, I don't know the answer to that, okay? But things I would think that would help are definitely woman-owned, right? If you're woman-owned, family-owned, veteran-owned. Okay. Let's talk about budget and job types. Okay, so here's over here on the left. All right, we're still in the same screen. I think I had to take several screenshots of the same screen. So the photos, if you notice over here, these are actually photos of their jobs. And I like using job site photos for all sorts of things, including your website and your social media, as well as inside a Google Business Profile itself. These are 2 separate platforms that you're going to upload to, okay? Google Business Profile, yes, is connected to this. It's highly connected to this, but you still upload photos separately, I believe. Not yes or no, Rochelle, if I'm correct on that one. Yes, okay. All right. So these are all job site photos, right? These are not stock photography. In fact, if you upload stock photography to the photos area, Google's going to say, nope, we don't like that. Okay. And the other thing to steer away from are making sure that you don't have like a photo of your truck with a phone number on it, because Google has their own tracking numbers, right, that they give you. They don't want you advertising your phone number to bypass the system. Okay, so any signs that you take a picture of, any trucks, anything like that might have a phone number in it, make sure that you either blur it out, right, make it blend in, or just crop it out completely, right, which is what we end up doing for our clients quite a bit. Okay, settings, message leads, you definitely want those. Make sure that you definitely get email leads and text message leads. And then this other checkbox I see a lot of times is not actually checked. Direct business search. This is if somebody actually searches for your business, your ad will pop up. I would highly recommend that one. Okay. Yes, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay $100 for someone to contact you for your own business name. But your ad, you want your ad showing up for your business name at the very, very top. Okay. You don't want your competitors coming up and them getting the lead and not you. All right, next, service area. So service area is a double-edged sword here. This is one of those things that can make or break local service ads. Okay, general rule of thumb here is what we like to do is use either cities or zip codes. Zip codes will catch a little bit more of an area than a city will. Okay, the other option is counties. We don't recommend counties at all. Okay. But I recommend either cities or zip codes, not both. Do not put a combination of both, right? Michelle says the phone number and website should be blurred. Oh yeah, we're talking about the images here. Yeah. Okay. But as far as the service area goes, pick one or the other. This is one of the things when a local service ads account is stuck, it's not generating leads, we switch those. We test switching those for a week or two. Okay. So sometimes we would go from cities to zips, or from zips to cities. All right. So that's kind of our ninja little hack there, if you will. Did I cover everything? Service hours. Okay. If you notice this account has 24 hours, that's because there's a call center backing them up. Okay. And actually we're rolling out our virtual AI receptionist to all of our clients that picks up when they don't. Okay. So it's super creepy, super cool at the same time. We call her Samantha. If you're interested in a service like that, just let me know at the end of this. But basically, after 4 rings, she picks up for our clients. And we're busy rolling this out to every single one of our clients right now. Okay. And it is AI, it is voice. She does qualify the homeowner and set the appointment. Okay. So best of both worlds there. Okay. That's how we can set it as 24 hours here. Because obviously, unless you have a call center that is 24/7, you don't want to do that. Okay. If you don't have that capabilities set up, you know, make sure you put in your business hours and at least when people are going to pick up the phone. Because if you start not picking up the phone during where you say to Google, these are my business hours, there's going to be issues. Right. There's going to be issues with, you know, your rankings are going to drop in the LSA platform and leads are going to stop coming in. Okay. Google rewards those who pick up the phone first. Okay. What do you do on a daily basis? It is very important to work their platform on a daily basis. Okay. Not switching hours, not switching service areas, not switching budget, but this right here is their CRM area. As leads come in, they're going to go right here. Okay. And the trick is not to work them inside of, so there's a drop down in the upper left-hand corner there, right? There's new, there's active, there's booked, there's completed and archived, those 5 areas. Click through those areas, move anybody. Well, one, fill in the details for all those people. Google wants to see you adding every single bit of information because guess what? They love information. Okay. The more you fill in the information, the more they're going to reward you, first of all. Number 2, go through there and work them through as you book them. Okay. Hopefully this is an office backend, office admin person that's calling this person, or appointment setter possibly, that's calling this person. Once they book that appointment, move them to the booked. Okay. Type in there, you know, there's a little notes area. Type in a note, move them to an appointment on such and such date. Okay. As that person, as you go through the appointment and you actually sell that job, move them to completed. Okay. If they didn't convert, they told you to go away, move them to archived. Honestly, I say move them to completed either way because Google likes to see that you're actually making money off of this platform. Okay. So that's just my thought on that one. If it's spam, there is a way to give that feedback to Google and for you to get your money back. Okay. Because every single one of these is, as you notice, it says charge status. It's either charged or not charged. If it's charged and that was literally a spam message, you listen to it and it was a solicitor or like, you know, Angie's calling you, right? How dare they click on your ads? And cost you money, right? While they're trying to sell you, but it happens. Okay. If you're listening to that phone call, there is a way to listen to it, by the way. Mark it, right? Go and I'll show you here in a second how to do that, but mark it as bad. You know, this was a bad lead. And it'll ask you why. And there's a section there for solicitor. Okay. And Google's pretty good about giving money back, honestly, on this platform. Okay. Much better than they are on the pay-per-click side. Okay. The other thing, we talked about this. Make sure you fill in all the information. I highlighted each of the sections, right? There's an archive in the upper right-hand corner. There's mark booked. There's a rate this lead. That's where you would actually click to rate the lead. Okay. Make sure you fill in all details that you possibly can. Okay. This is an important task. This is something that if you're managing someone doing this, that you're looking periodically to hold them accountable to do this. Okay. We do it for our clients because we know how important that this is. We look at these things on a weekly basis and say, hey, so-and-so isn't actually filling this stuff in, Mr. Roofing Company owner. You might want to let her know that. Okay. So because it's important. Rate the lead. Here's what it looks like. Okay. Very satisfied all the way down to very dissatisfied. Me, I'm either one way or the other. I'm never in between. I'm never going to say neither satisfied or dissatisfied. If it is a solicitor, okay, make sure, obviously you're going to put very dissatisfied there. Okay. If you are satisfied, if it was a good lead, click very satisfied, because this is all feedback for Google's algorithm. Okay. And the first time in history, Google has feedback loop built into its software and its algorithm. If you don't do this, they don't know. Okay. Again, they will reward you. So do this. This is important. Okay. And then it asks, why did you, why was it very, why did you rate it as very satisfied and just the opposite on very dissatisfied? Okay. Daily management are booked, right? We're just clicking down through this drop down that I talked about before. That's new, active, booked, completed, archive, right? We're just going down through each of those and moving them through the sales funnel. This is a very simplified CRM that you can use and should use. Even if you're in AccuLinks or JobNimbus normally, please tell your admin backend staff how important that it is to do this. Okay. And it's important because Google's going to reward you. You're going to pay less for leads. You're going to get more leads. You're going to get more sales. Okay. Update that contact info. We talked about that. Fill in every field that they have. Okay. Anytime that you talk with that person, make sure you make a note of that. Tips and tricks for proximity. The closer your listing is to a searcher, the better that it's going to be. This is just like Google Business Profile, right? The closer you are to that person actually searching, the more chance that you're going to give your listing to come up number one. Okay. And really in Google Business Profile, in the Maps pack, there are 3 settings, right? There are 3 listings, a 3-pack. In LSAs, there's 2. You want to be one of those 2. Okay. This is one way to do that. If you're trying to advertise outside of this 15, really upwards of a 30-mile radius away from your office, okay, you're going to have less opportunity to be in the 1 or 2 spots. Okay. So let's say that you're working in several metros. You want to have a separate local service ad account for each of those metros. And that's what we have found just from experience with some clients, that literally we had too big of an area and their leads went down. So we want to make sure that we have local service ads and Google Business Profiles set up for each of those areas. Okay. Each of those metros. Make sure that your service areas, I talked about this earlier, zip codes, cities, counties. We don't recommend counties. Okay. Do not use a mixture of zip codes or cities. Okay. Use one or the other. Don't target more than 3 major markets. All right. This is actually something that we have found in the past year on this one. Okay. And it makes sense when you get down to it and you think about it. Google wants the local roofing companies there, that if they're going to guarantee them, they want them to be local. They don't, for instance, if you're in Houston, they don't want you advertising in College Station, Texas, which we're 90 miles northwest of Houston. Okay. So it's a long drive. You're less likely to come out here. You're less likely to actually get that lead, because guess what? Most people from College Station are not going to hire a Houston company. They're going to hire someone here from College Station or Bryan, Texas. The stronger, this is another one that we have found out, the stronger that your Google Business Profile is, the better your LSAs perform. Okay. Those 2, and again, this comes back to making sense. The stronger that your map pack is, the rankings are, the better your local service ads are going to work. Because guess what? You have to have a Google Business Profile to even set up a local service ads. They're intertwined, okay? Which is why reviews are such an important thing. Not only do they show that to you, but they also reward you, both local service ads and Google Business Profile on each of those 2 platforms for reviews. Budget. Let's talk about some budget tips and tricks. We talked about this earlier. Maximize your budget, 3x what you're willing to spend. Okay. If it's 500, set your budget for 1,500. Okay. If it is 1,000, set it for 3,000. If it's 5,000, set it for 15,000. Don't set it and forget it though. Okay. We don't need to do that with any of this platform whatsoever. But if we notice that budget going over. And we've had clients that this happened with, that it actually hit because a storm came through. And guess what? Lots of people called and that budget hit its max on that week. We call, right? And they're like, keep it going. I love these things. Keep it going, right? Because guess what? They're making money. So it's 2 to 3x. All right. We'd like to do another thing called Price is Right. Right? Everybody understand what Price is Right is, right? You've got to bid on they bid at the very beginning to, what this is worth. And almost everyone will take everybody else's bid and go up by $1. Okay. Let's do the same thing here in local service ads, because almost everybody is keeping it at even numbers. So if your budget is $15,000, let's put it for $15,001. Okay. Maybe bump it up to 3 or 4 just for those ones that actually figured that out. Okay. Because in this platform, lots of things go into it, but budget is one of the biggest factors. Okay. Watch that budget weekly and adjust. Don't just set it and forget it. We just talked about that. It's getting no traction. All right. This is another thing. If your account is getting no traction at all, switch it to manual bidding and bid high. I'm not talking $1,000 a lead. Test out $500 a lead. Okay. Test out a few things, but keep a close eye on them. Okay. Because once there's traction, we're going to want to switch that to automated bidding. Okay. And when I say traction, you get 5 or 6 different leads in. Yes, that's going to be expensive. Okay. That price per lead will come down. The more that you work the platform, the more that you're working, them through, like I've discussed here. Okay. Those price per leads will come down because Google will reward you. Let's talk about some general tips and tricks. Got a lot of these. I think I've got 10 of them. Okay. Number 1, this is a ninja hack, and I even put a little star on this. Okay. Add booking calendar. There is a way, there's a booking button, right? So there's a couple of buttons that show up with every single listing. There's a message button, there's a call button, but there's a new one that they've added in the past, I don't know, about a year and a half, called booking. Or book, right? What this does is you can add your calendar, and certain platforms actually will do this as a scheduler. If you're on AccuLinks or Job Nimbus, I'm sorry. As of today, right now, those two do not have a native integration in with the local service ads platform. Our CRM that we use, however, the appointment machine, does have a native integration into the local service ad platform. So we can add that booking button. Super freaking cool, right? Because guess what? People might not want to message you. People might not want to call you, but they might just go ahead and schedule you out. Let's give as many options as we possibly can, right? And this goes into sales. Make it as frictionless as you possibly can. Okay. That's what this thing does. Okay. If you're a plumber, if you're an HVAC, you use House Call Pro. There is a native integration into that. Okay. I don't recommend House Call Pro, but if you are on that, there is a native integration. Okay. Next, business hours. Ensure call support is 24 hours, but only if you have the capacity to actually do that, the capability to actually do that. We talked about that earlier. Okay. Work the LSA platform daily. All right. You don't necessarily have to do this. Okay. But somebody needs to be doing this on a regular basis. And we talked extensively about this. Okay. Respond to messages promptly. If someone does message you, right, we have a golden rule of 5 minutes. If it's business hours, you have 5 minutes to respond to that message. That should be a general sales rule in your organization, no matter what anyways. Okay. Because that just helps with sales. But you have 5 minutes. If it's off business hours, first thing in the morning, okay, is to respond and to call. Honestly, I would, because these people are messaging, they typically leave their phone number, they leave their email address. I would hit them up in all 3 of those areas. From a sales standpoint, the more that you're following up, the better. Okay. And in fact, I think the latest stats that I read from, what was that? Harvard Business Review did this study that you have to respond nowadays at least 15 times to make a sale. Okay. You have to follow up. We've been told this in sales for the past 20 years. Very few of the roofers that we work with actually follow this rule. I cannot emphasize that enough. Follow up. 3 different platforms: email, phone, text message. Check that direct business search box. All right. We talked about that earlier. Make sure that your business name shows up when people search for you in the local service ads platform. It also makes you in multiple places on that page. Okay. And the more places that we are, I liken this to fishing, right? We put our fishing poles in the water. We want to fish with multiple poles, right? I know I do. I like going fishing with 5, 6 poles, right? Put them all up, just monitor them. Sales is the same thing. Okay. Marketing is the same thing. We want to put as many poles in the water as we can. But when it comes to Google, there are 4 spots, right, to be in a search. Watch the expiration of your licenses and insurance. Keep an eye on those things. They don't let you know when that happens. Okay. But that'll shut your account down, which is the last thing that you want. Okay. So we monitor those things on a monthly basis, making sure that we're ahead of those things. Insurance is kind of tricky because they only give you an insurance card or whatever at a specific time. Same thing with licenses, right? And just that's so that there's very little overlap, but just be careful about this. Make sure you monitor those things inside of the platform. Rate those old leads, go back through. If you haven't done that yet, make that an exercise. I've got a client, I just looked through their account today. They have 1,000. They have 1,000 leads that they have not marked as good or bad. This is a perfect thing for an admin admin, back office admin staff person to do. Okay. Perfect thing. When they're not doing anything else, they're going through and rating those things. Okay. Add job site photos after every single job. This is just a no-brainer with every single one of your platforms, but you should be taking photos with your $1,000 machine sitting in your pocket. Put it to use. Okay. Pull that thing out of your pocket. Make sure that location settings are turned on. Take a photo, because when you take a photo, it also embeds the latitude and longitude in that photo, by the way. As you upload that to local service ads, Google Business Profile, your website, to social media, guess what? You're telling Google, hey, this is my service area. Okay. Oops. Did I get there? Yep. Okay. Next, this is kind of a bigger one. You pay for leads or calls that are 2 minutes or less. If it's a solicitor, hang up right away. Don't be nice to them. Click. Okay. Teach your staff to do that. If it's someone looking for a job and you don't really have a job, and by the way, when you get a phone call from the local service ads platform, it says this is a call from Google, right? As a whisper at the beginning. You know which calls these are. These are going to be expensive calls. If someone's calling for a job, click, right? If someone's calling from Angie's, click. The faster that you can do that, the less chance it's going to be that you're actually going to get charged for that call. Okay. So 2 minutes or less. Next, and I don't know if I have harped on this enough. I'm going to get back on my soapbox here real quick. Get reviews after every job. Push for it. Ask. Call them in person. Get software in place that will follow up with them. Remember that follow-up rule? It applies in reviews as well. Reviews are so critically important to the life of your business because of that $1,000 machine sitting in every single person's pocket. It is so important. It is critically important that you get reviews after every single job. We've got a client that got 300 reviews in the past year. They have done phenomenal with that. And they incentivize their sales staff to get reviews. That's simple. For every review, and I don't remember the amount, let's say it was $10, $20 for every review, right? At the end of the month, we'll pay you. Okay. Incentivize everyone around you to get those reviews. They are so critically important, right? The companies that have done this, it's obvious on both local service ads and Google Business Profile. And guess what? I talk with ChatGPT a lot. If you've followed me at all, right, in the past couple of years, you followed a little bit of my journey that I have been geeking out completely on AI. I showed Rochelle literally yesterday. I've got 30 custom GPTs that I've created for our staff, for us, for me. Okay. AI is coming, and it's coming in a big way. Okay. Guess what? It will judge you on your reputation. Literally, that's it. It's not rankings like we're talking about now on Google. It's not how many backlinks that you have, how much you've talked about a certain topic, the traditional ways of ranking on Google. AI literally only cares about your reputation right now. And I know because I've asked ChatGPT who's the best roofer in whatever area, and I've done it time and time and time again. And then I asked it to tell me why did you rate that? And I've asked that to Gemini, which is the AI behind Google. I've asked that to Perplexity, which is another really popular search engine AI thing. Okay. If AI is coming, we have to prepare our businesses for that. Reviews, 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 reviews. Okay. I'm off the soapbox. Okay. Most important, and this is something that I was told to me by a really smart marketing guy a long, long, long time ago. All right. Do what everyone else isn't doing. What does that mean with local service ads? Well, that booking button, getting reviews, working the back end of the local service ad platform, because I guarantee your competitors are not doing that. That's going to give you that edge to get you more leads through this platform. Okay. All right. We are right at noon. Man, I'm right on time on this. This is good. All right. Since you stayed here, you get a free checklist. This is the daily stuff, the weekly stuff, everything that you need to do with the local service ad platform, setting it up, all that kind of stuff. Use this QR code, pull out that $1,000 machine sitting in your pocket. Okay. Scan it, download it. If you're listening to this on the podcast on iTunes or Spotify later, go to roofingsites.com/LSA-checklist. Again, that's roofingsites.com/LSA-checklist. Well, next, since you have stayed here also, you get a free book. If you don't have my book in your hand, if you do not have a digital copy of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing in your hand, you can get this for free. Just go to this link here, pull out that $1,000 machine, go to the QR code, or go to go.roofingsites.com. It has 336 pages of my past 20 plus years of knowledge of working in the marketing industry, digital marketing industry for roofers. It also has the exact blueprint of what we do for our clients. Okay. It's a couple of years old at this point. I'm working on a new version of this that, by the way, is going to be AI based. A lot of AI driven stuff that's going to be in that book. I'm working on finalizing that soon. Marketing is a moving target. So finalizing a book on marketing is interesting. It's fun because the platforms change so often. Next, if you like knowing how all of this works, but really want someone to just do it for you, we're here for you. We can help. Just go to roofingsites.com/schedule to schedule a time, with me. You're going to meet with me and go over your marketing, diagnose exactly what is wrong with your marketing according to our 4R marketing system. And we're going to build a plan together on fixing that marketing. Okay. I'll give this just one more second in case anyone wants to book time with me. And all right. Appreciate y'all showing up. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great weekend. Talk to y'all later.